The tiny alien twins asked the giant human for help. No one expected what he did. The lower decks of Ravel's station were never quiet, but they were loud in a tired way. Engines hummed through the walls. Cargo sleds scraped metal floors. Voices in 100 languages mixed into a constant noise that most beings learned to ignore. It was a place where nobody looked too closely at anyone else, because looking often meant responsibility. Two tiny figures moved carefully through that noise. They were twins, though many would not notice at first. Their species, the Kalari, were small even by galactic standards. Each twin stood barely to the knee of an average alien adult. Their bodies were thin, their limbs soft and fragile-looking. Pale blue skin showed faint lines of bioluminescence that flickered weakly with stress. Their large black eyes reflected the lights of the station like dark glass. They held each other's hands tightly. The older twin, older by 3 minutes, walked half a step ahead, trying to look brave. The younger stayed close, flinching whenever a shadow passed too fast. They had been walking for a long time. Every few steps, the older twin gathered courage and approached someone. A tall reptilian trader with armored scales shook his head before the twins could even speak. A floating gas being drifted away as soon as it saw them coming. A group of insectoid dockhands laughed softly and turned their backs. The twins did not cry. Crying used energy they could not afford to lose. They had been taught not to beg, but they had also been taught that when everything else failed, asking was better than dying quietly. Their mother had told them that. Their mother was not here. The station's announcement system chimed overhead, listing ship arrivals and departures. One name made the twins freeze. That was the ship, the hive ship that had once been theirs. Now it belonged to someone else. The twins squeezed each other's hands harder and kept walking. Near the far edge of the docking bay, where cargo lights were dimmer and fewer beings lingered, a human was unloading crates. He was impossible to miss. Humans were already known in the galaxy, but they were still rare enough that many aliens had only seen images. Seeing one in person was different. This human was tall, much taller than most station species. His shoulders were broad, his arms thick with muscle shaped by hard work rather than combat armor. Old scars crossed his forearms, pale lines against darker skin. He wore simple work clothes marked with grease and wear. Heavy boots clanged against the deck as he moved crates that would have taken 3 other workers to lift. Some aliens watched him nervously, others kept their distance. The twins stopped several steps away. The younger twin's bioluminescent lines flickered faster. "He's very big," the younger whispered. The older twin swallowed. "Mother said humans are loud, but they listen." That was all they had. They stepped forward. A shadow fell over them as the human turned with another crate in his hands. He did not see them at first. He set the crate down with care, wiped sweat from his brow, and turned back toward the cargo line. That was when he noticed 2 tiny figures standing directly in his path. Most beings reacted fast to unexpected things. The human did not. He stopped. His eyes widened slightly, not in anger but surprise. He slowly lowered himself into a crouch so his height no longer towered over them. The motion was careful, deliberate, as if he feared sudden movement might break them. "Well," he said quietly, his voice deep but gentle, "you two came a long way down here." The twins stared. They had expected shouting, or dismissal, or fear. They had not expected him to lower himself. The older twin found their voice. We are sorry to bother you." The human frowned, not in anger but concern. "You're not bothering anyone. Are you lost?" The younger twin shook their head quickly. "No, we are searching." The human glanced around the docking bay. A few aliens slowed to watch. Some whispered. Everyone expected the same ending. The human would wave them away or station security would arrive. The human did neither. "What are you searching for?" he asked. The older twin hesitated. This was the moment. If they said the wrong thing, this chance would disappear like all the others. "Help," the older twin said. The word was small, but it landed heavily. The human did not answer right away. His eyes moved over them more carefully now. He noticed their thinness. The way the younger leaned for support, the faint flicker of their bioluminescence uneven and weak. "Who's taking care of you?" he asked. The twins looked down. "Our family is elsewhere," the younger whispered. The human's jaw tightened. "Elsewhere where?" The twins looked at each other. This was the part everyone else had refused to hear. "Our hive ship," the older twin said. "It was taken." The human's expression changed, not to anger, not yet, to stillness. Taken hive ships were not rare. What was rare was survival after that. Taken by who? He asked. The twins spoke the name. Nearby aliens flinched. One muttered a curse under his breath and moved away. Another hissed softly and pretended not to listen. The human did not react right away. But something in his eyes hardened like a door quietly locking into place. That group doesn't give ships back, he said. We know, the older twin replied. That is why we are here. The human studied them. You know asking me puts you in danger. Yes, the younger said. But we were already in danger. A long silence followed. Station noise filled the gap. Engines, voices, distant alarms, life continuing as if nothing important was happening. The human slowly stood up. Some aliens relaxed, thinking this was the end. He would walk away like the others. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ration bar. He broke it in half carefully and held the pieces out. You eaten today? He asked. The twins hesitated only a second before shaking their heads. He placed the food gently into their hands, making sure his fingers did not touch them too roughly. They ate quietly, quickly, like creatures who had learned not to waste time when food appeared. The human watched, his expression unreadable. What are your names? He asked. The older twin swallowed. I am Telly, this is Rin. He nodded. I'm Marcus. That was all he said about himself. When they finished eating, Marcus stood and looked around the docking bay. He saw the watching eyes, the fear, the judgment. The expectation that he would send the twins away now that he had done something kind. Instead, he tapped a small device on his wrist. It looked ordinary, but when it activated, a faint blue symbol flickered above it. Not station code, not civilian, military. Several nearby aliens gasped. One backed away fast enough to bump into a crate. Marcus spoke quietly into the device. This is dock worker Marcus Hale. Civilian status override. I have 2 Kalari miners requesting protection and assistance. Situation involves seized hive ship and active hostile faction. There was a pause, then a voice answered. Calm, controlled, human. Confirmed, stay with them, do not disengage. Marcus looked down at the twins. Looks like you found the right person, he said. The twins did not fully understand what was happening. But for the first time since their hive ship was taken, the air around them felt steady. Rin's bioluminescent lines glowed a little brighter. Telly asked the question they had been afraid to ask. Will you send us away? Marcus shook his head. No, but helping us will make enemies, Telly said. They are strong. Marcus smiled, but there was no humor in it, only certainty. So are we, he said. Across the station, alarms did not sound. No weapons were drawn. Life continued as normal. But something had already changed. For the first time, 2 tiny voices had been heard by someone who chose to answer. And the galaxy was about to learn what humans did when children asked for help. Marcus did not move the twins from his side after the call ended. He stood between them and the open docking bay, his large frame turning slightly so that anyone approaching would have to go through him first. He did not cross his arms or raise his voice. He simply stayed there, solid and calm, like a wall that had decided to exist. Telly noticed it right away. The air around the human felt different now, not angry, not violent, just certain. Rin tugged lightly at Marcus's sleeve. Are we in trouble? Rin asked quietly. Marcus looked down and shook his head. No, you're under my protection now. The word protection meant something very serious in human culture. Marcus did not say it lightly. Across the docking bay, whispers spread fast. That human called military. The drones did not issue commands. Human military codes carried weight even here. A tall avian alien stepped forward, feathers tight with nervous tension. Human, the avian said carefully, this does not concern your species. Marcus did not raise his voice. 2 kids asked for help, that concerns me. The faction you named, the avian continued, they retaliate. Marcus nodded. I'm aware. Then why? Because they asked, Marcus said simply. The avian stared at him as if trying to understand a language that did not exist in the galaxy until recently. After a moment, the avian stepped back and said nothing more. Telly watched all of this with wide eyes. Aliens did not argue like this for them. Aliens usually argued about them. Marcus tapped his wrist device again. We're moving, he said quietly. I'm taking you somewhere safer. Will they find us? Rin asked. Marcus glanced around the station, then down at the twins. They might try, he said honestly. But they won't touch you. That honesty mattered. Humans did not promise safety by lying, they promised effort. He guided the twins through the docking bay, slowing his steps so they could keep up. Other aliens moved aside without being asked. Some looked ashamed. Some looked afraid. A few looked thoughtful. They entered a transport corridor that led toward the human quarter of the station. It was not large. Humans had only recently earned a permanent section here, but it was guarded. As they passed through the checkpoint, a human security officer straightened and looked at the twins. "Civilians?" the officer asked. "Children," Marcus replied. That was enough. The doors sealed behind them with a soft hiss. Inside, the corridor felt warmer, cleaner. The lighting was softer, less harsh on sensitive eyes. Rin's bioluminescent lines glowed brighter without effort. Rin let out a small sound of relief before covering their mouth, embarrassed. Marcus smiled a little. "You can relax," he said. "No one's watching you here." They entered a common room where a few humans were eating or working quietly. Conversation stopped when the twins entered, not with fear, with surprise. A woman with silver hair stood up slowly. "Marcus," she said, "who are your friends?" Marcus nodded toward the twins. "This is Telly and Rin. They need help." The woman knelt immediately, her movements gentle. "Hello," she said softly. "You're safe here." Telly felt something tighten in their chest, not fear, something else, something unfamiliar, kindness without conditions. More humans gathered, not crowding, not staring, just being present. Someone brought water. Another brought soft cloth wraps for warmth. No one asked questions yet. Marcus spoke quietly to a tall man near the wall. "Get command on a secure line, full briefing." The man nodded and moved fast. Telly finally spoke again. "You are many," Telly said. "Will you all be punished for helping us?" A murmur moved through the room. Humans exchanged glances. Marcus crouched again so he was eye level. "Listen to me," he said. "Helping children is not something we get punished for. It's something we're expected to do." Rin tilted their head. "Expected by who?" Marcus thought for a moment. "By ourselves." That answer stayed with them. Minutes later, a large display activated on the far wall. A human officer appeared, her face calm but serious. "Marcus Hale," she said. "We received your report. Start from the beginning." Marcus did. He explained the twins' approach, their condition, the seized hive ship, the faction involved. He left nothing out. The officer listened without interrupting. When he finished, she looked directly at the twins through the screen. "Telly, Rin, I'm Commander Reyes." The twins straightened instinctively. "You did the right thing by asking for help," Reyes said. "We will do everything we can to protect your family." Telly hesitated. "Even if it costs you?" Reyes did not hesitate. "Yes." That answer was not dramatic, it was not loud, it was final. Reyes turned back to Marcus. "This is escalating. That faction will notice the moment we act." "They already noticed," Marcus said. As if on cue, station alarms chimed, not emergency but alert level. A station official's voice echoed through public channels, calm but strained. "Attention. All docking activity near Bay 12 is temporarily suspended." Bay 12 was where the seized hive ship was docked. Rin's breath caught. "They know." "Yes," Marcus said, "and now we move faster." Human ships began arriving quietly, not in formation, not with weapons displayed. Medical vessels, transport craft, electronic warfare support ships. Aliens watched in confusion. This was not how invasions looked. In a secure room deeper in the human quarter, Marcus stood with other humans around a table. Tactical displays showed the hive ship, its power readings, and enemy patrols. "They think we're negotiating," one officer said. "We are," Reyes replied, "while preparing for extraction." "What about retaliation?" another asked. Reyes looked at the screen showing the twins, small figures waiting with medics. "If they retaliate against children, the galaxy will see who they are, and who we are." Marcus watched the hive ship image. "They won't give it up peacefully." "No," Reyes agreed. "But they won't expect what comes next." On the other side of the station, the faction's representatives laughed. "Humans bark loudly," one of them sneered. "They won't bite over two insignificant larvae." They were wrong. Without warning, human electronic ships cut the hive ship's external weapons offline. Clean, precise. No explosions. Docking clamps released under human override codes negotiated years ago and never used until now. Medical teams boarded first, unarmed. That alone shocked everyone. Inside the human quarter, Rin felt it before anyone said anything. Their bioluminescent lines pulsed bright and steady. "Mother," Rin whispered. Telly felt it too, a familiar presence, weak but alive. "They're alive," Telly said, voice shaking. Marcus heard it and let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The rescue was not loud, it was careful. Humans moved through the hive ship like guests who refused to break anything. Children were carried first, then elders, then the injured. The faction's guards stood frozen, uncertain, outnumbered not by weapons but by witnesses. When the twins' mother was brought aboard a medical ship, Telly ran forward without fear. Marcus watched as the tiny family reunited, their soft voices blending into something that sounded like relief. Commander Reyes appeared beside Marcus. "This will change things," she said. Marcus nodded. "It already has." Across the station, aliens watched silently. Humans had not taken territory. They had not demanded payment. They had not shown cruelty. They had answered a whisper. And for the first time, the galaxy felt unsure, not of human power, but of human values. That uncertainty was far more dangerous to the old order than any weapon. Far away, messages were already spreading. Two small aliens asked a human for help, and the human said yes. The station did not celebrate the rescue. That surprised many outsiders. There were no cheers in the docking bays, no loud announcements, no victory symbols displayed on screens. Human ships moved quietly. Medical teams worked without rushing but without stopping. Orders were given in calm voices. To humans, this was not a victory. It was a responsibility being carried through to the end. Telly and Rin stayed close to their mother inside the medical bay. Soft lights glowed above clean white surfaces. The air smelled neutral, designed not to overwhelm sensitive species. Their mother lay on a raised bed connected to gentle monitors. She looked thinner than they remembered. Her bioluminescent lines were dim and uneven, but they were there. Alive. That mattered more than anything. Marcus stood a short distance away, arms relaxed at his sides, trying not to intrude. He felt large in the room, like a piece of heavy furniture someone had forgotten to move. He watched the twins carefully, making sure his presence did not frighten them now that the danger had passed. Rin noticed him watching and lifted one small hand. Marcus hesitated, then waved back slowly. Rin smiled. A Kelari medic approached Marcus. The alien was smaller than the twins' mother, but carried themselves with calm authority. "Human," the medic said softly. "They will recover, slowly but fully." Marcus let out a long breath. "Thank you," the medic tilted their head. "You protected our young." "That is not forgotten." Marcus nodded, unsure what to say. Humans were not used to being thanked for things they believed were simply required. Outside the medical bay, the station felt tense. The faction that had seized the hive ship had not attacked. They had not fled either. They were silent. That silence worried experienced commanders more than shouting ever could. In a secured briefing room, Commander Reyes stood before a wide display showing multiple star systems and communication traffic. Human officers filled the room, standing or seated, focused. "They are sending messages," Reyes said. "Not threats, questions." "What kind of questions?" one officer asked. "Why we did it," Reyes replied. "Why we didn't demand payment, why we didn't claim the ship." Another officer frowned. "They think there's a trick," Reyes nodded. "They believe every action hides a cost. They can't process an answer that doesn't." Marcus stood near the back, arms crossed loosely. "They'll come here," he said. "Yes," Reyes agreed, diplomatically. "Or pretending to be." "And the council?" someone asked. Reyes turned to another screen. The emblem of the Galactic Council flickered to life, already requesting a formal inquiry. "They've noticed," she said. "When humans act like this, the galaxy pays attention." The council chamber was not a physical place. It was a shared space of projections and translated presence, allowing dozens of species to appear together without leaving their worlds. When the emergency session began, the chamber filled quickly. Representatives whispered. Some looked angry, some looked afraid, some looked curious. The Kelari representative appeared smaller than most, their image shimmering faintly. They bowed deeply toward the human delegation. "We acknowledge humanity's actions," the Kelari representative said. "Our children live because of you." A heavy, armored species representative spoke next. "Human intervention violated established seizure protocols." Reyes did not raise her voice. "Those protocols allow the capture of civilians," she said. "We do not recognize such rules." "That is not how galactic order functions," another voice snapped. Reyes met their gaze. "Then perhaps the order needs examining," murmurs spread. The faction responsible for the seizure finally spoke. Their representative's image flickered sharply, colors harsh. "The humans acted without authorization," they said. "They disrupted lawful acquisition." Marcus clenched his jaw. Reyes responded calmly. You took children. They are not children they asked for help, Reyes interrupted. That makes them children to us. Silence followed. The council had no direct law against that logic. No one had ever tried to introduce it before. The Kalari representative spoke again, voice trembling slightly. Our species has been prey for generations. No one has ever said that before. The faction representative sneered. Then they will learn why it is dangerous. That was when something unexpected happened. A new voice joined the session. It was not human. It was not Kalari. It belonged to a species known for strict neutrality, traders who avoided conflict at all costs. Their representative appeared, posture stiff. We witnessed the rescue, the neutral species said. Humans used force only to disable weapons. They prioritized medical aid. They took no property. They asked nothing in return. The representative paused. This contradicts all known models of conquest. The chamber filled with quiet. Another species spoke. Then another. Station logs were referenced. Recordings were shared. Multiple independent sources confirmed the same thing. Humans had intervened and then stopped. Reyes watched the council carefully. We are not asking permission, she said. We are explaining our values. The council session ended without resolution. That alone was historic. Back on the station, the twins' mother had regained enough strength to speak. Her voice was soft but clear. You are the human, she said, looking at Marcus. Marcus stepped closer and knelt again. Yes, she studied him for a long moment. You did not know us. No, Marcus said. You gain nothing. Marcus shook his head. I gain knowing you're alive. She reached out, placing a small hand against his forearm. Her touch was warm. In our stories, she said, giants are dangerous. Marcus smiled gently. Some are. Then why were you not? Marcus thought about it, about Earth, about his own childhood, about rules taught without words. Because someone once did the same for me, he said. She did not ask more. News traveled faster than ships ever could. On distant stations, small species whispered to each other. On large worlds, officials argued late into cycles. On neutral hubs, merchants adjusted their calculations. A pattern had appeared. Humans responded to vulnerability, not strategically. Instinctively, that frightened some powers far more than fleets. Days passed. The hive ship was repaired under human supervision and returned to the Kalari. No modifications were added. No trackers installed. That fact was verified by multiple inspectors. The twins stood at the edge of the docking bay as their home prepared to depart. Rin clung to Marcus's pant leg. Will we see you again? Rin asked. Marcus knelt. If you ever need help again, he said, ask. Telly looked serious. Even if the galaxy says no, Marcus met their gaze. Especially then, the twins' mother bowed deeply. Other Kalari followed. Around them, aliens watched in silence. As the hive ship departed, Marcus felt something heavy settle in his chest. Not regret, responsibility. Commander Reyes joined him. This story is spreading faster than we can track, she said. Marcus nodded. Good. Reyes studied him. You understand what this means, don't you? Marcus looked out at the stars. It means the next child who asks might not be alone. Reyes exhaled slowly. It also means we'll be tested. Good, Marcus said again. Far away, on worlds that had never feared humans before, leaders began asking new questions. What happens if humans decide something is wrong? What happens if they decide to care? The galaxy did not yet know the answers. But it was learning that humanity's strength did not begin with weapons. It began with listening, and that was far more dangerous to injustice than anyone had expected. The test came sooner than anyone expected. 3 cycles after the hive ship departed, Ravel Station received an incoming priority alert from deep space. The signal did not carry threats or demands. It carried coordinates and a warning. The faction that had lost the Kalari hive ship was moving. They did not come with a fleet. They did not declare war. They chose a quieter path, one designed to prove a point without drawing the full attention of the council. They targeted a relief convoy. The convoy was small, civilian-marked, carrying food, medical supplies, and evac teams bound for a border system struck by stellar storms. Multiple species were aboard. Children were aboard. Human sensors detected the ambush seconds before it happened. On the bridge of a human escort ship, Commander Reyes stood rigid as tactical data flowed in. They're trying to make an example, she said. They want to show that helping the weak has consequences. Marcus was on board as civilian liaison, present only because he insisted. When the alert sounded, he was already moving. "Where's the convoy?" he asked. Reyes pointed. "Right here, they've disabled engines on the lead ship, boarding parties incoming." Marcus watched the feed. Alien ships closed in, weapons powered low, just enough to threaten. The tactic was clear: capture, intimidate, leave witnesses. "Orders?" an officer asked. Reyes did not answer immediately. She looked at Marcus. He met her gaze. "They're counting on us to hesitate." Reyes nodded slowly. "Deploy rescue teams, minimal force, shield the civilians." "Yes, ma'am," the bridge answered as one. Human ships jumped in without dramatic flares. They positioned themselves between the convoy and the attackers, projecting broad defensive fields. The attacking faction hailed them at once. "This does not concern you," the faction commander said. "Withdraw," Reyes responded calmly. "Stand down, release the convoy." "Or what?" the commander sneered. "Or we protect them," Reyes said. Weapons did not fire. Instead, the attackers accelerated, trying to slip past shields to reach the civilian ships. It was reckless. It was meant to provoke. Marcus watched the feeds, jaw tight. Then he saw something that made his breath catch. A boarding skiff had already latched onto the convoy's medical ship. Children were inside. "Boarding in progress," an officer called. "We can't get a clean lock without risking the hull." Marcus was already moving toward the exit. "Then I'll go." Reyes turned sharply. "Marcus." "I'm not military," he said. "They won't expect me." "That makes you more vulnerable." Marcus smiled faintly. "It also makes me harder to justify targeting." Reyes hesitated for half a second, then she nodded. "You have one team in and out." Marcus suited up quickly. No heavy armor, no oversized weapons, just a pressure suit, a shield pack, and a short-range emitter designed to disable, not destroy. The boarding tube connected with a dull thud. Inside the medical ship, fear hung thick in the air. Patients were strapped to beds. Medics moved fast but quietly. Children clung to caregivers, eyes wide. When the attackers forced their way in, they did not rush. They wanted to be seen. That was when Marcus stepped out of the smoke. He placed himself between the attackers and the nearest group of civilians, his shield flaring to life. "Stop," he said, voice steady. The attackers hesitated. They had expected soldiers. They had not expected a single human standing unarmed between them and their goal. "Move aside," their leader said. "This is not your concern." Marcus did not move. "There are children here. That is irrelevant." "It's not," Marcus said, "to me." The leader raised a weapon. Before it could fire, Marcus stepped forward and slammed his shield into the deck. The energy wave rippled outward, knocking the attackers off balance without injuring them. "Leave," Marcus said again, louder this time. Behind him, a child began to cry. Marcus felt it like a weight on his chest. The attackers regrouped, angry now. One rushed him from the side. Marcus turned, taking the blow on his shield, then used his emitter to disable the attacker's armor systems. The alien collapsed, alive but helpless. Another attacker aimed past Marcus, toward the civilians. Marcus moved without thinking. He stepped fully into the line of fire. The impact hit his shield first, then him. The force drove him back hard into the bulkhead. Pain flared through his side. His vision blurred. But the shot did not reach the children. Human boarding teams arrived seconds later, securing the attackers and tending to Marcus. He waved them off. "Check the kids," he said through clenched teeth. They did. The ambush failed. Across space, human ships had successfully shielded the convoy. Attackers withdrew under watchful eyes, their message delivered but unanswered. Back on Ravel Station, news arrived quickly. Marcus was carried into medical care, conscious but injured. His shield had taken most of the force, but not all. When Telly and Rin saw him later through the medical bay glass, Rin pressed both hands to the barrier. "He's hurt," Rin whispered. "He stood in front," Telly said quietly. "Like he said he would." Their mother closed her eyes, glowing lines dimming with emotion. Across the galaxy, recordings spread. A human civilian, not a soldier, stepping into danger to protect children of another species. Council chambers erupted into debate. The faction responsible tried to justify their actions. They spoke of deterrence and balance, but too many had seen the footage. Too many had heard the crying child behind the human who refused to move. On Ravel Station, Commander Reyes stood beside Marcus's bed. "You didn't have to do that," she said quietly. Marcus managed a weak smile. "Someone had to. You could have been killed." He nodded. "I know." Reyes looked away for a moment. "The council is convening again, emergency session. This time they can't avoid it." Marcus closed his eyes briefly. "Good." When he woke later, the pain was less sharp. The room was quiet. A small figure stood beside the bed. Rin. Marcus blinked in surprise. "Hey," he said softly, "you're not supposed to be in here." Rin climbed carefully onto the chair beside him. "I asked," Rin said. "They said yes." Marcus smiled despite himself. "Figures." Rin looked at him seriously. "You were afraid." Marcus nodded. "Yes, but you did it anyway." "Yes." Rin considered that. "That's what giants do in our stories," Rin said. "They stand where monsters want to go." Marcus felt something tighten in his chest, stronger than the injury. "Well," he said, "I'm glad I lived up to it." Outside the room, the galaxy shifted again, because now it was clear. Human strength was not only about listening, it was about standing in the way, and everyone was watching to see how far humans were willing to go. The emergency council session did not begin with arguments. It began with silence. Representatives from dozens of species appeared in the shared chamber, their projected forms filling the vast space. Normally, voices overlapped before the session officially opened. This time, many waited. Recordings from the convoy ambush played again on the central display. A human civilian stepping into danger. Children crying behind him. A shield flaring, then breaking. A body refusing to move. When the footage ended, no one spoke for a long moment. Finally, the council moderator activated their signal. "This session is now in order." The representative of the attacking faction spoke first, their tone controlled but strained. "This incident was exaggerated. The human placed himself in danger by choice." Commander Reyes appeared on the human delegation's platform. "So did the children," she said calmly. "They did not have shields." Murmurs spread. The faction representative tried again. "Interference in lawful deterrence actions." "Lawful to whom?" asked a neutral species delegate. "To galactic precedent," the faction replied. The Kelari representative rose slowly. Their small form seemed even smaller in the chamber. "Precedent has never protected us," they said. "It has buried us." That struck something deep. Another species spoke, one known for strength and conquest. "Humans," they said, "you could have destroyed the attackers. You did not." Reyes nodded. "Correct." "Why?" "Because our goal was not to punish," Reyes said. "It was to protect." The conquering species studied her. "You value protection over dominance?" "Yes." That answer traveled through the chamber like a shockwave. Back on Ravel Station, Marcus lay in recovery, staring at the ceiling. Healing systems hummed softly around him. He was awake now, pain reduced to a dull ache. He did not know the council was debating. He only knew he was tired. The door slid open quietly. Telly entered, moving with careful steps. Marcus turned his head and smiled. "Hey," he said, "you're getting good at sneaking in." Telly shook their head. "They said I could visit." Marcus shifted slightly to make room. "How's your family?" "Safe," Telly said. "The hive ship reached Kelari space." Marcus let out a breath. "Good." Telly hesitated, then asked, "Did it hurt when you stood there?" Marcus considered lying, then he didn't. "Yes," Telly nodded. "Thank you for not moving." Marcus met their eyes. "Thank you for asking me to stay." The words felt important. Days later, the council delivered its decision. It was not a punishment. It was not a reward. It was a change. A new classification was introduced into galactic law, protected civilian priority. Children and non-combatants could no longer be seized, used as leverage, or targeted under any circumstances. The vote was not unanimous, but it passed. For the first time in recorded galactic history, protection became law. The attacking faction withdrew its representatives in protest. Trade sanctions followed. Slowly, pressure built. None of it came from human weapons, it came from isolation. On Ravel Station, life slowly returned to its usual rhythm. Cargo moved, ships departed. Voices filled the halls again, but something was different. Small species walked with slightly straighter posture. They glanced toward the human quarter not with fear, but with something close to trust. Marcus returned to work when medical cleared him. Same boots, same crates, same dock, but now people noticed him. He did not like that. One cycle, as he finished unloading a shipment, he felt a familiar presence. Two tiny figures stood nearby, Telly and Rin. They had grown a little stronger, healthier. Their bioluminescent lines glowed steadily now. Marcus crouched automatically. "Hey, troublemakers." Rin smiled widely. "We came to say goodbye." Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. "Going somewhere." "Our home world," Telly said. "We will help rebuild." Marcus nodded. "They'll be lucky to have you." Rin stepped forward and placed something small into Marcus's hand. It was a simple token, smooth and warm, etched with Kalari symbols. "What's this?" Marcus asked. "A promise," Rin said, "that we will remember." Marcus closed his fingers around it. "I already know you will." They hugged him carefully, awkwardly, their small arms barely reaching around him. Marcus stayed very still. When they left, he stood alone on the dock for a long time. Across the galaxy, stories spread. Not heroic epics, simple ones. A human listened, a human stayed. A human stood in the way. On worlds where children had learned not to ask for help, parents began teaching them new words. On stations where weakness had once meant invisibility, small figures walked closer to human spaces. Humanity did not become rulers. They became something stranger, a line, a place where harm stopped and questions began. Years later, at a council gathering meant to review the new laws, a Kalari delegate addressed the chamber. They were grown now. "We were taught that giants crushed us," the delegate said. Then one knelt. The chamber listened. "Strength," the delegate continued, "is not what you can take, it is what you refuse to allow." The human section remained quiet. Marcus watched the broadcast from a small screen in the station cafeteria, a cup of warm drink in his hands. He did not recognize himself in the stories anymore. That was fine. He never wanted to be a symbol. He just wanted to answer when someone asked. Outside the station viewport, ships moved through the stars. Among them were human vessels, still unmarked, still quiet. Still watching, still listening. And somewhere on a distant world, a small voice would someday say, "Let's ask a human." And somewhere else, a human would kneel down, look them in the eye, and say,